Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to editorial analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 5th of March 2025. Now before getting into the article discussion, I have an important announcement for you. It is regarding our Pre-FIT 2025 Batch 3. It is starting on March 10th, 2025. Here you can scan the QR to register for the particular test and get yourself tested for the preliminary examination. So with this note, let us look into the list of articles for today's discussion. We have two different articles. In the first article, we will be discussing about the features of the upcoming Income Tax Bill 2025. And in the second article, we will be discussing about the India and UAE's current bilateral agreement with respect to aviation. So we'll be seeing both articles from the mains perspective. Without any delay, let us get into the article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about Income Tax Bill 2025 that has been recently introduced in Parliament in February month. So the article, as the title itself hints, little has changed in the Income Tax Bill 2025. So the article itself talks entirely about the features that has brought in, but what are all the features that have left out and what can be done. So those kinds of things has been discussed in the article. So let us see them one by one. Before that, I have a mains question for you. Let me read out the question. Critically analyze, which means you have to write all the positives and negatives, the proposed Income Tax Bill 2025 and its implication for taxpayers, governance and financial transparency in India. So it is actually a 50-mark question and you have to write an answer for 250 words. You can write it and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer as well as your peers can review it. So let's start with what is the basics about this Income Tax Bill 2025. See, this particular Income Tax Bill 2025, it actually replaces or provides certain significant changes in Income Tax Act 1961. So let us see them, what are all them one by one. Firstly, simplification and structural changes. See, it has streamlined a lot of tax provisions by removing the redundant definitions. So there are a lot of vague definitions. Those kinds of definitions has been reduced in order to streamline the compliance process. Secondly, consolidation. The timelines has been made consolidated, and this timelines consolidation has made in order to ensure the high efficient tax administration. So when the timelines are very fixed, so when the compliance timeline is consolidated, then the administration, especially the tax administration, will be effective, and that is what the second the top point says. Both the thing will bring interpretation ambiguities in tax disputes. Now, the second important change is expansion of government's power. So, it has provided for wider discretionary powers to tax authorities. For example, it has expanded the surveillance to virtual digital space. This will include both the cloud storage, then the digital transactions and etc. So, priorly there was no particular provision for the digital spaces, but now they have included it in order to bring in the current changes as well. Now, this will allow modification of tax law without legislative approvals. So, indirectly, it is providing a greater discretionary powers to the tax authorities. Now, let us quickly go through the strength of the bill. See, first important thing is it has modernized and removed redundant provisions. They are telling modernized because it has included the provisions of digital space as well. Now, the second important thing is it has improved digital and emerging economy recognition. For example, it has included even the e-commerce transactions, and it has introduced tax provisions for digital transactions and accounting platforms as well. Now, moving on, the third important thing is efforts to reduce litigations. So, lot of litigations happen when the definition is not clear. So, they have reduced all the ambiguities and disputes by providing the clear provisions. So, this consolidation, secondly, the consolidation of procedural timelines will bring in a lot of better compliance. Both will reduce the litigation and the efforts made for it. Now, moving on, even though certain changes has been made, as the title of the article says, only little portion of the act has been changed, not the entire thing has been changed, and we shall see them one by one, what are all the concerns and challenges. See, the first thing is expansion of government's discretionary power. So when discretionary power is provided to certain authorities, when newly it is happening, arbitrary powers could be happening. So that is what is given here. It provides the tax officer authority over digital assets and the taxpayer records. So apart from this, there are certain ambiguous terms like risk management strategy, with virtual digital space. These kinds of terms, it has not been defined properly. This will lead to misuse again, and this raises privacy concern, data protection concern, and taxpayer rights concern. So this is the first important concern or challenge. Secondly, lack of genuine simplification. See, as I said earlier, only little portion of it has been covered in order to modernize it by including the digital space. Except that, most of the important provisions that has to be amended has left untouched. That is what has been said here. Cross referencing of sections is still a burden for the taxpayers. Now, the third important thing is potential for increased litigation. Now, the author says this because since the main core of the act has not been untouched, there still remains a lot of confused terms. So this will eventually increase the legal disputes. As it said, it will reduce the legal disputes, but no, it has made the process more complex, leading to a lot of litigation in the future. And there are a lot of gray areas that historically led to tax conflicts. Now, moving on, we shall see about the implications of the Income Tax Bill 2025. First, we shall see about the impact on taxpayers. So, it will increase the compliance burden. So, there are a lot of complex clauses that will increase the burden on the taxpayers. Secondly, there is higher risk of scrutiny. More intrusive tax investigations will be there. So this will again put a burden on the taxpayers. Thirdly, lack of relief measures. So there is no proper grievance redressal that has been proposed, and there is no significant change made to the tax slab exemption or deductions. Now, the secondly, we have to see about the impact on governance and administration. Firstly, the expansion of executive authority, it will reduce the parliament's oversight. This means that the bureaucrats, they will be having more power and more control over the administration. So here we can see increased bureaucratic discretion. Thirdly, there is lack of fundamental reforms. There is no major step to improve ease of doing business. Now, moving on, the third impact on fiscal transparency. See, it will limit taxpayers' protection because there is no safeguard has been provided against the discretionary power misuse. See, secondly, there is increased surveillance concern. This means that the privacy of an individual is under threat. Now, thirdly, there is potential for legal uncertainty because it may lead to more litigation, as I said earlier. So, these are all very important facts that you have to remember. Now, moving on, we shall see what can be done to make the tax reform more effective. Firstly, we have to bring in fundamental restructuring. This should eliminate outdated provisions completely. Secondly, we have to limit the arbitrary power. We can limit this by giving a lot of allowances to safeguard the people from arbitrary power misuse, and we can bring checks and balances, and we can bring clear definitions and taxpayers protection, and for that we can bring in grievance redressal even. And then for ensuring the fiscal transparency and predictability, we have to establish clear tax rate exemptions and deduction frameworks, and we have to simplify tax slabs for efficiency. Fourthly, we have to strengthen digital tax governance, and for that we have to define the digital tax rules clearly, and we have to ensure transparent digital tax monitoring with privacy safeguards. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember when it comes to this Income Tax Bill 2025. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this news article. As the title itself hints, this article talks about the renovation of UAE and India aviation partnership. So we shall see about what are the implications of it one by one from the mains perspective in the article discussion. Before that, I have a mains question for you. Let me read out the question. The aviation sector plays a crucial role in India's economic growth, regional connectivity, and international trade. Discuss the key challenges facing India's aviation sector and suggest policy measures to make India a global aviation hub. So it is a 15-marker question for 250 words. Write an answer and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer. So let's start with what are all the aviation sector provide for economic growth and jobs. See, when we take the aviation sector, they contribute significantly to India's GDP. For example, literally 5% of GDP contribution by 2040 and 4 million direct jobs by 2040. So this much huge amount of contribution is able to provided by this particular sector. Secondly, they will bring in a lot of connectivity and development. So when an airport or aviation is going to happen in a particular place, then the land rate of the place around the airport will increase eventually. So those kinds of things happen. Secondly, the connectivity will bring in a lot of trade as well. So this way it leads to development of the second tier and third tier cities in our country. So we can tell that the aviation sector, they can bring or bridge the geographical gaps. And especially the Udan scheme, they have provided 75 plus unserved airports connected, and it will boost trade, tourism, and economic integration. Now, moving on, apart from that, aviation sector reduces the logistic cost. For example, air cargo, 30% of trade value is contributed by the sector, and they have a target like within 2040, 100 million of foreign tourists should be traveled through aviation sector. So this also fuels the hospitality industry as well. So these are the importance of aviation. Apart from this, they serve a very big role when it comes to national security. Aviation sector helps in relief operation, especially during the floods, along with the support of Indian Air Force and civil aviation support. Moving on, now let us quickly go through this bilateral air service agreement, in short called as BASA. This BASA is signed between our country India and UAE. So any particular aviation related agreement between two countries is called by this name, and it regulates the international air services. It provides safety, and it brings fair competition and even market access. So when we talk about UAE's role in India's aviation, they are the top international travel destination for Indians. Nearly 4.5 million plus people in 2023 has traveled to UAE, and it is the global aviation hub. A very good example is Dubai and Abu Dhabi. It has been a particular spot for connecting flight, especially to Europe, and 18% of India's air freight movement happens through UAE, and it is third largest trading partner for India. However, even though there are agreements between the two countries, there are certain challenges when it comes to India's aviation. For example, high operational cost. We import fuel, which is increasing, which is surging the ticket charge. Secondly, there are charges and leasing. Second important thing is limited international connectivity. We have only limited agreements when it comes to aviation sector with multiple countries, which is a very big limitation. Then we have infrastructure bottlenecks, for example, congestion. So we have to develop lot of airports. Through that, we can reduce the congestion, and we can control the air traffic more effectively and efficiently. Apart from that, it will bring in lot of investment in sectors like the secondary sectors. And finally, the financial struggle of airlines. Lot of airlines in our country are under debt, so running operational cost itself is very high. So the government should bring in a high focus on this particular area to make the sector function without the debts. So far we saw about the contributions done by the aviation sector when it comes to our economy. Then we saw about what is this bilateral agreement between country when it comes to civil aviation. Then we saw about UAE's contribution. Then we saw about what are all the challenges. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening.